И добре дошли на всички участници в конференцията на Зелени градове
in the Green Cities of Sustainable Europe. That's a part of the Pan-European Initiative for Green Cities, organized by the Ornamental Plants Producers Association in cooperation with the European Nursery Association and with the support of the Embassy of the Netherlands. My name is Duriana Milenkova and I am in charge of food at the embassy, and I'm happy to have Tatiana Boyadzieva and Stoil Nanovsky from the Ornamental Plants Producers Association. We have also an expert, Ludmila Nikolova, to address your questions. So do not hesitate to ask questions both in the comments to the event and the YouTube channel. We're organizing this conference for a third year in a row, and usually we have conducted it within the Strojko exhibition. But due to the COVID situation, we will be participating there virtually as well. Tanya, tell us, why is it important to talk about green cities today? Thank you, Doriana, for taking charge for this function and coordinating this third conference. It's really difficult for us when we do not have live attendance. Moreover, we are now currently online in a studio. Climate change and COVID-19 made green cities a more topical issue than ever, raising the point of people's health and the common actions that the state has to undertake together with the municipalities and the green sector as a whole. This is our shared thinking, and this is why we're meeting here and talking about a new vision of the cities, making them smart, having more greenery, and upholding sustainable development. Still, this was a difficult and unusual year for your sector, yes. Undoubtedly so, not merely for our sector, but it is affecting the entire global economy and our industry as well. In the ornamental plants production sector, we are, in addition to the negative outcomes, we are trying to capitalize on the positive outcomes. Mostly, we are trying to focus the attention of individual people to the leisure zones, green zones, suburban zones and park zone areas, and turning their attention to open air spaces. I hope that the members of the association are watching and they would be active with comments and questions on the chat channel. Now let's open our virtual conference. Let me pass the floor to the ambassador of the Netherlands to share with us why they're supporting their initiatives
for a sustainable Europe. My name is Beate Tuscher and I am the ambassador of the Netherlands in Bulgaria. It's a great pleasure and honor to address you all with this issue of growing importance. I have the pleasure today to record my address in the beautiful botanical gardens of Sofia University, in the center of Sofia, really in the center. And this is a true example of a green city topic. Our partners at the Bulgarian Nursery Association and the European Nursery Association strive to promote urban landscaping with more plants and flowers. Our embassy, the Netherlands Embassy, is very happy and proud to support this initiative for the third consecutive time. Why do we support this event today? Green cities matter a lot, having an impact on climate, biodiversity and stress reduction and social cohesion. Did you know that? And I see it all the time when I go to your beautiful parks. I see social cohesion with families friends enjoying themselves. The Netherlands, my country, is a world leader in production and trade of flowers and ornamental plants. There is a vast knowledge in my country and an understanding which we would love to share with our partners in Europe and especially in Bulgaria. The Dutch business and research dedicate a lot of effort and money to create modern and functional solutions to make our cities healthy, cozy and even more beautiful. I'm sure we will all feel better surrounded by blossoming flowers and living plants. I've lived in Sofia already for 3 years and I find the city so beautiful and green and hospitable. I tell all my friends they should come and visit me here because this is an undiscovered diamond, your city and your country as a whole. I truly missed the summer flowers this summer and I told your mayor, Mrs. Van Dakova, and she promised that she would do her best to get the budget, she already did, to get the budget for more flowers in spring next year and for the winter garden also. In the Netherlands, we like to use the expression, say it with flowers. And as an ambassador of the Netherlands, I apply this in my daily work with a lot of pleasure. So naturally, when the Bulgarian presidency of the EU in 2018 took place, our Dutch present for the Bulgarian government was a flower carpet depicting your EU logo. And this flower carpet blossomed beautifully next to the National Palace of Culture. On the occasion of our 110th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the Netherlands and Bulgaria, last year we gave another flower present to Bulgaria. A special tulip variety, a unique one called Serdica. And we baptized it, this beautiful Bulgarian name, and it was especially designed to capture your flag, the colors of your national flag, white, green and red, as you will see. And when it blossoms, it even looks like a rose. So it encompasses both our national flowers, your rose and our tulips. This tulip, Serdica, blossomed in the city of Sofia, and we intend to bring it as a gift to the city and give it even more bulbs to be planted in several places. You will see next year. I'm so happy that this beautiful Serdica tulip is the starting point for a constructive discussion with your mayor, Mrs. Van Dakova, on other important issues like air quality, urban landscaping and cultural exchange. And we've had a very nice discussion about that already, which we will continue. I don't want to miss the opportunity to say that while Dutch tulips blossom in Sofia, your present, your Minister of Foreign Affairs, Zaharieva's present to my minister, Blok, was on the occasion of our 110 years diplomatic relation, 110 beautiful Bulgarian Damascene roses. And they are already growing in the Netherlands in a beautiful rose garden as a precious gift to the Netherlands from your Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mrs. Zaharieva. And my minister was very happy with that. Let me now go to our Green Cities Conference, the purpose of our meeting today. This new digital way of meeting gives a unique opportunity to connect with each other. I'm very happy that Dutch knowledge and inspiration will come from many different spots of the Netherlands and Europe, as you will see in a minute. First of all, we have my dear colleague, the agricultural councillor Arie Veldhuizen, and he is in Bucharest. He will address you from Bucharest. He will tell you more about Dutch activities in Romania and will invite you to cooperate more closely with the Dutch-Romanian project on urban landscaping. He will address you from the heart of Bucharest, and you will see he is enjoying the sun, which we don't have here today, but He is a very inspirational person and he will ask you to join, and I hope you will. Then we have a great colleague from the Netherlands. He is the secretary of the Royal Dutch Nursery Association, Leon Smet. And he will join you from The Hague. So you will have another scenery to admire. And he will tell you how the Dutch sector, the sector of flowers and ornamental plants, is responding to the current challenges of corona crisis, how they cooperate with their Bulgarian partners, and what lies ahead to the Green City Coalition, which is a group of organizations working together in Europe. We will take a look at the World Horticulture Center in Naaldwijk. This is a state-of-the-art knowledge and innovation center for international greenhouse horticulture. It offers very interesting possibilities for online visits and trainings, and I encourage you to use the opportunity because now everything is virtual, so you can already go there virtually. I would like especially to bring to your attention the upcoming World Expo Floriade, which will take place in Almere in 2022. The theme of this great expo is growing green cities. How appropriate to have this theme now and this conference today. Bulgaria has a possibility to join this expo. It would be fantastic if we could show your experiences in Bulgaria with green cities there as well. Other countries also participate, so I expect Bulgaria to be there. You can hear also more about how and why it should be happening, these green cities and this conference and this Floriade, which is a very great event in my country. It's something that everybody's looking forward to. It gets a great deal of attention. Finally, I'm very excited that I can virtually speak in front of you together with the Mayor of Sofia, Mrs. Vandakova, and with Deputy Minister of Agriculture, Mrs. Krasteva. Thank you so much for joining me in discussing and promoting greener cities in Bulgaria today and promoting greener cities in Europe. I hope we can continue our cooperation also offline, and I'm sure we will. You know, we as ladies, as lady policymakers, we are standing strong, like you say in Bulgaria. And your mayor, Mrs. Vandakova, and I always joke about that. And Mrs. Zaharieva, your Minister of Foreign Affairs. Dear participants, I wish you a most interesting and inspiring conference on green cities for sustainable Europe today. And I hope to see you all live again next year at the fourth version of this conference. Tanya, Doriana, I now hand you back to the live studio.
Благодаря ти, Бея, за това зелено съобщение.
For this green greeting from the Botanic Garden in Sofia. Now we move to the municipality of Sofia and we'll hear from the mayor, Ms. Vandakova, who'll be talking about
Поздравявам организаторите и участниците в конференцията и специални поздравления за посолството на Нидерландия в България и лично за нейно превъзходителство посланичката, с която разговаряхме за тази конференция.
I'm very pleased to accept the invitation to address you and tell you what Sofia has been doing to green the city and also about our beautiful flower displays. Sofia is a green city. What told first-time visitors of Sofia remarkable before anything else is how green our city is. When you fly in by plane, the first thing you see are the vast green stretches, which are the big green parks of Sofia. In Sofia, we see the parks and gardens as our treasure. They're the city's lungs. They are beautiful and pleasant to walk in, but also a major factor in improving air quality. Therefore, an attested priority in my work is caring for the city's green system. First, the maintenance and regeneration of parks and gardens
which we undertook right from the start. Then also the opening to visitors of 2 big and lovely parks, Vrana Park and the Military Academy Park. The creation of a new park, Возрожденный, which is still young, but in time the trees will grow and it will turn into a wonderful green island in the center of our city. We're planning to create 7 more new parks, 3 linear parks, so that everyone could have access to a green space closer to home. A hallmark of our city is street trees. Over the past 10 years, we have planted 18,000 trees along the streets and boulevard of Sofia. New projects include a mandatory landscaping component because, let me reiterate it, I believe that one of the key ways of improving air quality is having trees and forests. Sofia is surrounded by several mountains. The views themselves are splendid, but what is also very important is planting trees around the city. We're planting Sofia's green belt. Every year we plant with trees an area of approximately 200 hectares around the city. We launch an initiative together with the citizens. The new forest of Sofia, we have planted 125,000 trees so far. In about a week we'll be starting the new season of planting the new forest of Sofia. I initiated also a special program for the planting up of school and kindergarten yards with trees and plants. We called it My Green School and My Green Kindergarten. We have already 180 schools and kindergartens which have joined in. This season we start with another 25 new schools and kindergartens. And because it is not enough to simply plant the flowers, we have to also instill in children, in young children, in pupils, the right kind of attitude to the green system and to the conservation of the city's green system. Naturally, we have wonderful flower displays. We have become a trademark of the city's female leadership. I'm proud of this and I'm grateful to everyone engaged in this activity. We had huge support from the ambassador of the Netherlands on the occasion of the 110th anniversary of establishing diplomatic relations. A special variety of tulip named Serdica was created and cultivated. We planted 3,000 bulbs of this variety together with the ambassador and the Minister of Foreign Affairs in a lovely garden, the St. Clement Ochridsky Garden in Sofia, for the Bulgarian presidency of the Council of the EU. Together we created the presidency logo from flowers. People like the flowers of Sofia. Unfortunately, this year, because of the crisis, including the financial one brought about by COVID-19, we had to shrink the budget so that during the summer we didn't have so many flowers. But we're starting again now. We're starting now the autumn planting. So the citizens of Sofia will once again be able to enjoy the beautiful tulips, which are among the first to flower in Sofia. Our ambition is to continually increase the rose plantations, because the rose is the symbol of Bulgaria. Moreover, these are perennial plants which flower throughout the summer and delight us all. I hope that together with the horticultural business, we would continue jointly to organize campaigns in order to include more and more citizens. We already have such examples. I launched the Green Sofia program, which is aimed at citizens, at engaging people and ameliorating the places where they live, the areas between and around the blocks of flats. Many individuals and organizations regularly take part in this program, and this helps us together make our city more beautiful. I have now announced a special new program which is called Sofia Chooses. As part of this program, we expect to get the ideas of citizens, of organizations and business for projects we could implement as early as next year. I would be happy to receive from you new proposals. My dream is for someone to propose and develop a project for a green wall to be created in a public space which people will enjoy and which will be an example of how air quality could be improved. I sincerely wish the conference every success. I hope that it will contribute new ideas. I would like to congratulate a Bulgarian participant in the competition. I have my fingers crossed for his success. In Bulgaria and Sofia, there are many small and medium enterprises and even larger ones which have their ideas and success stories. They are active participants in various competitions, so I hope that once again the Bulgarian participants will reap rewards. Best of luck to all participants in this conference.
We'd like to thank Ms. Fandakova for the extended hand from partnership and the provocation with the green walls. Later in the program, we will discuss the technical details and the manner in which green walls and green roofs can become a more common phenomenon in our environment. We are talking about cities, but actually the nurseries are agricultural producers, and this is why we've invited the Deputy Minister of Agriculture to tell us more about the ministry's policy in the ornamental plants and nurseries sector and what type of support they are enjoying from the ministry. Esteemed ladies and gentlemen, attendees attending the present meeting, the topic of today's conference has a topical focus in view of the aspirations of Europe's society to apply green practices for the protection of the environment. In their functioning mode, the green cities are similar to the cyclical transitions in nature. They are a semi-closed system and have a directional development. The applied planning principles correspond to the principles of the green economy concept. The green cities allow for no compromise with any of the three key building blocks of sustainable development: economy, society and nature. Based on information from the 2019 Agrarian Report, the total output of ornamental plants, including Christmas trees for 2018, amounts to 16.6 million lev, with a growth of 7.1% against the preceding year. The sales at current market price made by the sector within the country amount to 16 million lev, and the major share of them, 13.5 million, is designated for other sectors of the country's agriculture. A guiding principle in the work of the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Forestry is to attract and promote the participation of the stakeholders in the process of designing and implementation of environmental policies to manage the quality of air, water, biodiversity, to curb urban pollution, and the proper disposal and reuse of waste. Regarding the support we have extended for the sector in 2020, the ornamental plant producers received financial support both from the national budget and European funding. The state aid schemes employed discount schemes on gas oil excise, duty in agricultural production, also investment in agricultural farms through the assignment of corporate tax, and support for compensating damages on farming plants inflicted by natural disasters or by unfavorable weather. By virtue of the 8th revision of the Programme for Development of the Agricultural Regions 2014-2020, Extraordinary Measure 21, Extraordinary extraordinary temporary support for agricultural farmers and small and medium enterprises, particularly affected by the COVID-19 related crisis, in order to relieve the negative consequences of the pandemic. Ornamental plants were an eligible item for support under Measure 22, as they fall within the scope of Annex 1 of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union. The budget under that sub-measure amounted to 93.5 million lev, and it covered the ornamental plant sector. Unlike many other sectors in the agrarian sector, which were affected by the COVID crisis in terms of making extra costs for the application of pandemic countermeasures over the period March-June 2020, the flowers and ornamental plant sector reported significant economic loss and deteriorated liquidity due to the rigorous market restrictions in this period. According to sectoral data, the average monthly sales of ornamental plants toppled down by almost 40% as compared to the same period in 2019. I believe that we all have to work for strengthening the green policy in the management of the various sectors. Thank you for your attention. This was a professional presentation opening very interesting questions. Still, could you tell us why you are agricultural sector producers and what is the specific character of this sector? Yes, we are qualified as a part of agriculture probably because we are producing plants, but our business is a bit more special. We are often in a situation where we talk to the minister and they tell us you do not produce food, but this is not true. We are producing food for the soul. Because we are admiring the gardens in Paris, the Versailles Gardens in Paris, and this is not by accident. So we are quoting these sites as an example. So you have more work to do in order to improve your cooperation with the Ministry of Agriculture and find your proper positioning in that sector. Yes, this is only a beginning, because due to the large numbers you heard from the Deputy Minister of Agriculture, we didn't enjoy a lot of compensations, and we are trying to insist on higher compensation for the sector. In addition to that, the European legislation actually requires from us to work together with the experts in the sector in order to improve the major pillars such as health, nature and green cities. So we are still a step behind. You also work with the food agency who are dealing with the phytosanitary control. Yes, we are insisting on feedback and coordination, but this is a part of the cumbersome administrative work done by the association. Now we want to speak about the green cities. In order for the nurseries to be able to export their produce and trade on a European scale and also trade with Asia, the Bulgarian ornamental roses are famous all around the world. And we are a leading country in trade and production. We're very open for international cooperation and sharing of experience in order to enable trade and communication. You are working on a number of projects in international activities. Could you tell us more details? With pleasure, because without the Netherlands, it's impossible to conduct any type of event which is called Green Europe, Green Cities for Sustainable Europe. So, if the Embassy of the Netherlands was not supporting us and was not supporting the association, we would hardly find the capacity to work on such a large scale. We are working on the so-called promotion programs, and each state determines its participation in terms of workshops, conferences and competitions. Now we will talk about the Sustainable Europe Award and the Bulgarian participation. So this gives us an opportunity to be on a par with our European colleagues, and what all the plants we produce actually correspond to all European quality standards and technological method standards. And Bulgaria, which is famous for its horticulture, is on an equal standing with Europe. The Netherlands is a state that invests a whole lot in terms of innovation for development and for cultivating different varieties, but we are able to benefit from that experience, and I'd like to thank again for that support and cooperation. I would like to thank the ambassador in person, because she's doing a great job in order to give the feeling give us a feeling of support, and that the Green Cities topic is more accessible and is being discussed among all institutions. We'd like to give a floor to the advisor on agriculture to the Dutch Embassy to tell us more about the project on cooperation on green cities.
Good afternoon, my name is Arie Veldhuizen, Dutch name, difficult to, to pronounce. But I'm here because I cannot be lively present in your beautiful country today. Because you know all, it's due to COVID. What a terrible thing happened to us in the world in February and March of this year. And what a challenge we have to see how we can continue with our very important work in connecting to each other and to talk to each other. That's the reason we do it that way. And why am I here in this beautiful green environment? That's because we talk about green cities. Cities are getting more and more important in the nearby future. In 2015, the world population will be 10 billion people, and most of the people, half of the population, will live in cities or the environment of cities. That is getting very important in the future, and the cities need to be sustainable for the future. It needs to be attractive to live in a city, and not just attractive, it needs also to be sustainable. It needs to be a little bit a connection with the nature and the rural area, and so cities need to be greened, green cities, and we are already experiencing with that in the Netherlands. You know the Netherlands, of course, a little bit, maybe from the television, but I'm quite sure that you all know Amsterdam. But we also have Rotterdam, of course, with the big harbor. We have Utrecht, and we have the beautiful city of Amersfoort, where is also a very nice example of how you can green a city and how you can combine efficient food production, sustainable ways of working, together with living in a city. We do that a long time already, and we also want to work together with other countries who are interested in greening their cities. For instance, here in Romania, but of course also in Bulgaria. The Dutch government looked what kind of instrument can be used to contribute to this whole development of green cities, and we thought that the instrument of PIB might be a good kind of instrument to help and to make this done. PIB, partners in international business. The word partner is very important in this, because only with partnership you can work with each other. In the Netherlands we work together with the government, the private sector and universities together in the so-called Golden Triangle. And this is very successful. We had several PIBs around the world, but close to house. We had here in Romania already 3 successful PIBs finished, one on dairy, one on fruit and one on horticulture. And last year a very important PIB was established, a PIB on urban landscapes. A PIB is a collaboration between government and private sector in the 2 countries. I hear here a police car, but that's okay. We continue. That's outside. That's also the attractiveness of being outside. PIBs are consisting from a consortium from experts. In the PIB on urban landscapes, we have very experienced companies who are specialized in bulb production, roses, grass, but also designing the city. We have an architect in the Green City Consortium, and it's all been coordinated from the consortium by Antos. Antos, you know Antos probably, they've been here more time, and Leon de Smet, the representative of Antos, is also here, and he will explain later what the consortium is doing, who is in the consortium, and how they can work with you. It's mutual, of course, but how they can work with you to see what we can do in Romania. What is the PIB providing, delivering? Now there are many things. It's all specific used for the country, because every country has its own needs. But in general, there are trade missions, there are matchmaking events. We are seeking collaboration with universities, demo plots, in which also people from the environment can watch and look and see what they can do to green cities, to make a sustainable food production also in the cities. That are kind of results of what a consortium can do and what we can do in these 3 years of collaboration and building up. Of course, the Dutch consortium is also that it's a private sector, so it's important also to be a little bit profitable, but it must be a win-win situation. That is very important, and that it's not just the profit from the Dutch companies and other parties paying. No, it's win-win. Everyone needs to be satisfied. That worked out very well in the former PIBs, and also in this urban landscapes it looks that it's going to work, that we have happy faces from both sides. And there's also an example of an urban landscape. A bee was trying to hit me. We have this tryout in Romania of the urban landscapes started last year in May, and we are on track. But we don't want to do it just in Romania, we want it also in other countries. For example, in Bulgaria, in your beautiful country, where I've been a few times already since my posting here, but even more further in the whole region in Southeast Europe. I'm now in Bucharest, as you see. We see some examples from greening. I want to show you the Sky Tower over there. I see here some very nice greening areas, so it feels good to be on a quiet green place area in a huge city like Bucharest. This lake here, I see some ducks swimming, etc. What was the name of the lake?
Bordei.
The Bordei Lake. Thank you very much. So I'm enthusiastic about it, and I want to go further with it because it's the future. The future is green, and we want to green the future by ourselves together with you as partners, because also partnership is very important and sustainable. I talked a lot. That's because I'm so enthusiastic in working on this topic together with you, and I hope really that you have a very fruitful day today working on a sustainable Europe with green cities. I also hope that I can join you lively again soon. I don't know whether it can be this year, but I'm quite sure as soon as possible I travel to Sofia to shake hands and discuss further on this fantastic topic. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you have a very fruitful event today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ari, for this very positive message and invitation for active cooperation. We heard Ari from the beautiful parks of Bucharest, where recently we've seen planted a lot of Dutch bulbs being planted using an innovative technique. And I hope that our association would also become actively involved in this project. Now, we cannot avoid the topic of COVID-19. How did it affect your sector, the work of the association? Yes, you're right. Since March, the pandemic has started affecting us. But we're a very well functioning sector with more than 48 billion euro turnover annually and more than 760,000 staff. So we've seen what has been happening, tons of flowers being thrown away, especially in those spring months, which are normally the busiest for us. But as producers, we also had to throw away produce, and cities looked very, very different without vehicles, without people in the street. So it was a really difficult period of time, and we suffered huge losses, more than 2 billion Bulgarian levs. We tried to keep all our staff, all our employees, and we had additional losses because we had to try and keep our plants alive. We sought help from the ministry, from the National Assembly. We wanted to discuss our problems, but so far we have received no compensation apart from what comes from the general compensation scheme, which is a tiny amount, but I hope that we'll be able to get some sort of compensation. Even the fact that people stayed at home meant that we suffered losses because of the downturn in tourism, and also because of the fact that a large and beautiful city as Sofia this year did not plant any flowers, any plants. But I'm particularly grateful to the mayor, Ms. Van Dekova, because we managed to make this city even more beautiful. We saw that during the Bulgarian presidency of the Council of the EU, and we were ready to continue to plant the most beautiful flowers and make our life more colorful. Unfortunately, because of the crisis, because of the pandemic, we couldn't do that. We couldn't plant flowers in our city, but I hope this will not be repeated. There'll be further losses, but those will not be just financial, but also psychological, and we'll have to work on that as well. So we shouldn't underestimate the impact of flowers. I was very happy yesterday as I was riding my bike along Bulgaria Boulevard that some flowers were being planted. Yes, let me just say something else. We supported our doctors. We donated some flowers in the worst months when we had to stay at home, and we'll continue to support our medical doctors. we believe that flowers should remain a key factor in the urban environment. You're absolutely right about the flowers in hospitals, for example. Yeah, let me just add something on this topic. Our members, the members of the association, they would like to help. So we would like to address the minister and society at large. Please buy Bulgarian plants. They are of high quality. They are indeed very good. So please buy those plants. We all try to make our environment more beautiful. Yeah, but predictability is very important for your sector. Perhaps not so much for flowers for bedding, but for the larger plants. So you have to make forecasts. Yes, that's correct. We work on a 5-year basis, so we plan ahead for the next 5 years. So we have to know what's going to happen, and that's not just for us, of course. Yeah, certainly, and I think that at a European level, there is now a realization that this sector needs support. So it's the right point to make a transition and look ahead at the forthcoming project and the cooperation of the association with some of their European partners. Now we'll hear from the secretary of the Dutch Association of Nurseries, Leon Smet. He's also among the leaders of the project Green Cities for Sustainable Europe.
From the Netherlands. This is Leon Smet, Secretary of Antos, Secretary of the Dutch Green City Association, and Chair of the European Nursery Stock Association Working Group for Promotion. Thank you for inviting me to give you a contribution about the Green Cities campaign and about the greenification of European cities. I do a presentation from The Hague. The Hague is the political capital of the Netherlands, and it's actually a very green city. It's a city with a real green policy. At community level, there is quite a large department involved in the greenification of the city, together with citizen participation, but also a lot of participation in research projects. The city is well known for its old trees, especially castanhas. The planting policy of the city is actually based on planting a wide variety of trees, and the wide variety of trees has a reason, because it prevents diseases and illness of trees. So it's really nice to see a wide variety of big and old trees. The area where we are filming actually quite a few times and originally adopted. On the other hand, and that's also I think a very big achievement of our joint campaign, a motion has been presented recently by the European Parliament towards the European Commission about the importance of the greenification of cities. And when you look at the context and the content of this motion, literally many aspects of our campaign have been adopted and taken over in this motion. So I think at 3 levels success has been made, and that is very good. I think that's very good progress. One of the crowns of the campaign, in which also Bulgaria is participating, is something that we are starting with this year for the first time, and it's the Green Cities Award. So the European Green Cities campaign will be awarding a project from one of the participating countries as the greenest project. And there is a jury that has been formed with various expertises to look at biodiversity, to look at economy, to look at climate aspects which are implemented in the greenification of the project. In the end of this year, I believe, the beginning of December, during a conference in the Netherlands, the project and the award will be granted. So hopefully, perhaps, Bulgaria will be a winner. I don't know. I'm not in the jury, but I think it's also nice to stimulate communities this way to work with green. When I look at the campaign and I look at the various levels of research, scientific research, when I look at the sharing of knowledge, when I look at the wide PR and press attendance of the campaign, it has really been a success. There's a website with good content, so information can be shared easily. But the biggest crown, which I would like to share with you, is that the European Commission has recently informed us that we are able to continue the campaign, not with 6 or 7 countries, but with INA members from 13 various European member states. So this really is going to be a European campaign. It's very nice to see, and it's very grateful that the European Commission is adopting our input towards supporting this campaign. So that means that in the future, in the coming years, we will be able to share much more information about greenification, the importance of knowledge, the importance of scientific research, and citizen participation in greenification. Well, basically that's my presentation. I hope that you have a very good conference. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to say a few words, and I wish you good luck. Thank you, and bye-bye from the Netherlands.
After Sofia and Bucharest, we visited also The Hague. 3 years ago, when the project started, you were a very young organization, and it was very brave of you to join larger siblings of yours. So how did it work? Yes, it was indeed brave to become partners with the Netherlands, with Germany, with France, Denmark, and other big players. But we were successful, and we are also proud that now we would continue with the second part of this program, with another 12 participants. It's not easy, and all the information, all the knowledge, all the ideas that we have exchanged, we'll have to find a way to implement, to go beyond Sofia and organize meetings, workshops with our partners in the larger cities. To raise awareness about how important it is for a city to be green, to be smart, to have a green economy, and that should become integral to our thinking about urban development. Yeah, I think it's important to say that those promotional programs are not so much about production, but about communication with your partners, with customers, so that they understand the benefit and what they could use in terms of urban development. Still, what inspired you during those international contacts? Well, they started a long time ago. Back in 2003, 2004, and it's good that a lot of the practices that we've learned about over the years have helped us to develop our own production, and now we are able to give advice to our colleagues in this sector. And we should say that at the heart of everything, at the heart of making a city green, is what allows for other aspects of urban development to succeed. And this is a trend that we see, and we see also a lot of positive change. It is a long battle, of course, yes, and it's very competitive, but we count on you to provide the plans to have a green city. It's very sad that we cannot see you, our participants, but we are grateful to you that you have been listening to us and following us. So let's hear from the chat room and see what's been happening in the chat. Well, people have been very active. We've received already a lot of greetings, also comments about how important it is to talk about this in this particular moment in time. Just to give you a quote, people saying it's very important to turn our attention to the green sector, to the urban environment. Best of luck. People are also wondering why we don't have more green spaces in the residential areas. I don't know if somebody would like to answer this question. Well, this is a very topical question, especially when it comes to the new residential areas. I see that the municipality of Sofia has been trying their best to keep as many of those green areas as possible. There are very complex cases which the municipality has been trying to deal with. But we should point out that now we have several new parks created. So it is an ongoing process in the past 10 years. A lot has been done in that respect for the urban environment. Of course, as in other places, we have both good and bad practices. As a professional, and this is my personal opinion, I believe that there is room for improvement in terms of the green material that is used. For example, the trees that are being planted, they have to meet certain requirements in terms of size and other qualities. So we need larger trees that could be moved and planted. They are more expensive, but in the longer term, they are a much better choice.
Recently, we visited a Bulgarian city where the center was reconstructed and the pavement was really amazing, so it could compare with a city as Vienna. But however, the colleagues did not pay much effort to choose good quality plants. Probably now is the right time. We wanted to have a discussion on that plant on that topic, but it's probably the right point now. Why is large-size plants not available in the Bulgarian market? In the European market, these plants are supplied, but it's a matter of practice. What if the market grows? The people have to see the economic benefits of using large-size planting material. Let me quote an example. The new maples on the Slovakov Square, they are 7 to 8 meters high, and they look as if they've been there for years. The maples in the pink chestnuts in the center of Sofia. So in the course of building or constructing that area, you already have the final effect or the landscaping effect. But you have to plan it that way in order to be able to get the required results. So the trees have a good stem and also good foliage and good bark. So the nurseries have to offer large size plants, but it requires another technology, another method of transplanting. But also the municipalities have to adopt the necessary approach. That planting material seems to be more expensive initially in terms of investment, but over time it pays off. And when you calculate over the years, over a 5 or 10-year term, ultimately you see that you didn't invest a bigger amount. You've actually increased the value of our project or the property or the landscaping design, but this space can be used directly and immediately rather than for us to have to wait for a certain number of years to make it usable. Yeah, it's a living space and it can give you the effect that you've been seeking. So we have to start using these opportunities. Lucy, do we have any further questions to touch on? People are excited about the potentiality of having more greenery around us. Let us move to the Floriade exhibition in the Netherlands. Probably it's not very popular in Bulgaria, but it's a global exhibition which is held every 10 years now. It has a 70-year history and it's gonna be its 10th edition. It is going to take place in 2022 in the city of Almere. If you care to know further information about Floriade, I would encourage you to visit their webpage, where you will see a lot of interesting workshops and presentation, not merely related to participation, but also vision on healthy nutrition, landscape solution, and also watering and amelioration solutions. From Costa and Slavi's video, did you see anything inspiring and that triggers any thoughts on the process? It's not merely this video that inspires us to think more profoundly. Bulgaria is one of the oldest states in the European continent. In addition to food and the rich history, we have our mountains, the beekeeping, the herbs, nature, so we can display this in the most appropriate way and involve universities and the students in order to show the direction forward, the emotions of young people, because when people are young, things tend to happen more easily, so we have to involve more people. Yes, we have to seek cooperation and collaboration, which is not one of the strongest features of Bulgarian character, but it's a good reason to begin practicing in this respect by participating in this exhibition, which has over 2 million attendees. We promised to talk about green walls, green roofs. So we've invited the experts from the VGF company to show us some of their techniques and lessons learned.
Good morning to all virtual participants in the Green Cities for Sustainable Europe conference. I would like to thank the organizers for offering VGF the opportunity to participate in this prestigious forum. For us, this is an honor and a privilege. My name is Georgi Ivanov, and I'm head of business development at VGF. Personally, I'm responsible for one of the divisions within the company. Hello from me, my name is Tsanko Kotsev, and I'm head of the landscape division at VGF. This is the division whose responsibility is the development of innovative ideas in landscaping. And I would like to tell you more about some of the new trends in creating green roofs. Green roofs have some very important advantages, which are well known to a wide range of non-experts too. Thus, they improve the living spaces, microclimate, to help to reduce significantly and even avoid the urban heat island effect. They contribute to the correct functioning of the urban sewerage system through the granular drainage of rainwater, and thus eliminating flooding as a problem, something that we are seeing more and more often in the urban environment. Green roofs are a huge challenge because they have to be well designed and constructed with attention to every single detail of every project. This is something that our team and our company have always been very particular about, because the top requirement of green roofs is that they're durable and that they function correctly over the years and for the duration of their intended life cycle. In recent years, we have focused on extending and deepening our expertise with respect to the landscape aspects. In other words, the correct plant sizes, selecting soil substrates, and determining the correct depth of soil layers, and all that should be well and properly supported by a reliable waterproofing system and a system for green roof planar drainage and water harvesting. In the course of their long history, green roofs have split into two main types. So we have now intensive and extensive green roofs, which differ significantly in the type of plants used, in their function, as well as the associated maintenance costs. The first and most widely used type is the intensive green roof, which is most often chosen for public residential buildings. There we often have a combination of walkways, recreation areas, as well as some additional functionalities and architectural elements, together with a mix of short and tall plants and other landscaping solutions. Our long experience with this type of roof has revealed two key challenges, namely ensuring the correct drainage for this type of roof, while at the same time providing a water reserve for the plants living in it. Therefore, one of the elements of the system we developed for intensive green roofs has been finding an ever-increasing application across the country. This element including geocomposite for planar drainage and a water-retaining membrane. The above combination ensures that the roof is durable and thus a worthwhile investment from the point of view of the investor. Over the years, we have constructed a number of such roofs, and together with our landscaping and construction partners, we have consulted a number of sites. Some of the most emblematic we could give as examples include Equinox House in Kavarna, designed by architect Ignatov, whose wish it was for the house to blend seamlessly with its surroundings and be practically invisible against the backdrop of the sea. However, one of the challenges with this project was the roof pitch, as well as sloping at a 35-degree. It also has a curved shape, which requires us, in addition to the standard green roof detail, to design also a soil retention system complete with all the requisite elements. Speaking about intensive green roofs, what is essential with respect to the correct definition of soil layer depth is taking into account the structural load which green roofs generate. Very often, this creates considerable difficulties which must be taken into account as early as the design stage. We have designed and developed excellent technical solutions based precisely on the correct separation of the different functional areas of an intensive green roof. One emblematic project, which is rather modest in scale, but illustrates how a standard flat roof of an office building with offices on the top floor could add a brand new functionality that's solving a specific problem which requires a solution, namely the renovation of the roof waterproofing system. So this offered us the opportunity to give this roof an entirely new purpose, turning it into a pleasant area to hold discussions, working meetings, and a place to take a break from the demanding daily routine of a business organization. There we offered a particularly successful solution to this problem through the correct definition of functional areas and by ensuring the most essential function which ultimately every roof must serve, namely to protect structural elements from the impact of the weather, preventing leaks and damp entering the space below the roof. The project I mentioned was implemented in the district of Gorna Banja in Sofia, where this unused until then roof, giving a splendid view of Mount Vitosha, was divided, as I mentioned, into a meeting area, an active relaxation area, and the photos you're looking at clearly show the order in which the entire system was put together in the process of constructing the roof, namely laying reliable water insulation, installing a water retention system, and separation of the roof functional areas. Green roofs are getting more and more sought after as a solution, and the next project that you're now looking at, located in the district of Lozenec in central Sofia, is a clear proof of the fact that green roofs are not sought after by big investors wishing to add some greenery to their building and create better functioning areas. This is a private residential building where the investor's wish was to have, instead of tiling, which is standard, to have a garden. Thanks to our colleagues and partners from LTS, this became a reality. you could see for yourselves that this is a typical Japanese-style garden for which we provide not just water drainage and special membranes, but also we gave suggestions on how to support the trees planted by our colleagues on the water table and a number of other tiny details which are essential for a green roof. This is a typical intensive roof because, as you can see, it has all the areas associated with this type of roof. We have a recreation area, we have an area with plants growing, we have a water mirror, and a gym annexed to the roof. Yet this is just a small share of the roofs constructed recently. I hope that this type of landscaping will continue to grow in popularity and will become, so to speak, standard among contemporary investors.
Even for a non-expert, this was a very interesting video. Quite a lot of examples were given by Georgi Ivanov and Sanko Kovsev from VGF, but the full version of that presentation will be shared in the Green Cities Facebook page. But will we have more green roofs, and why don't we have any green walls in our cities and towns? Yes, there are. For years, both green roofs and green walls are being designed and constructed, and we from the sector can say that this initiative is growing every year. Recently, I've seen a project with a 3,400 square meters roof garden, and in order to reduce the load on the construction, they use soil mixes with cocoa fibers and other lightening materials, but the effect is really amazing. They would plant plants which do not need intensive maintenance and care, such as sedum and dry plants. So there's a growing tendency for green roofs, and green roofs are an option for increasing the green areas and also to reduce the heat that buildings emit and the negative consequences of the microclimate that cities create in order to relieve the climate change situation in the cities. So this is where roofs will play a role. Let us hope that we will have more green walls, as Ms. Van Dukova said. In Sofia there are subways and also crossroads where we can have really amazing projects with cascading designs. We've shared with experts that roof gardens and green roofs are not legislatively provided for in Bulgarian laws. It's quite in the order of things to inform investors as to what kind of rights they will enjoy in order to give them an incentive. Yeah, it's good to talk about the technological and designers aspects of that initiative. Otherwise, it looks like a wishful thinking. Yeah, this is the most important foundation that we have to lay. During the discussion, we've had the municipality. They have a concern that open-air green spaces will be reduced if green roofs are more stimulated. But yes, there are areas in Sofia which are definitely over-constructed. and we can only reduce the damages. So our urban plans are developed in that style since 2009, and we cannot resolve that problem overnight. And green roofs are a big chance to improve our urban environment together with vertical greening. I can name a city that can be quoted as an example where green bus stops will be built. And Burgas also has good examples to show. The important point is to develop in this direction in order to provide a good environment, living environment, both for us and for our children. And in the VGF video, they're giving an example from Burgas for greening the roofs and the bus stops. So this is another motivation to see the video in its full version. Burgas and Sofia were mentioned, but let's go back to the municipal examples. Yes, we can quote other examples. One good effect of the COVID crisis was that it taught us to travel around in our own country and see what was happening in our own cities. I was left with a very nice impression from the city of Vidin, with a with a reconstruction of the central areas. It resembles Vienna and also Zarevo, the beach area, and everything that's happening in between must be explored and considered as a good practice. But let's show the Yambol municipality and see what they're doing there. So we are on our way to Yambol. My name is Valentin Rivansky and I'm the mayor of the Yambol municipality. I've been in my office for a couple of years now, and I'm happy to be the mayor of this really beautiful city, and I'm thankful to participate in the Green Cities discussion for Sustainable Europe. Let me tell you how I imagine the development of our city for the future in order to transform it in one of the greenest cities in Bulgaria. We have 5 main areas which can be developed as green areas. The city park of Yambol, which is an island in the middle of our city. I believe that's one of the most beautiful parks in Bulgaria. We're about to plant about 6,000 tulips. So for our inhabitants to be able to enjoy in spring. Also, we are ambitious to beautify several more areas to make the park even more attractive to our fellow citizens and compete to be the greenest one in Bulgaria. The second one is the Borovets Park, which is partly developed in the which has been planted with trees and cultivated, but the major part of the park area is deforested, and we have the ambition to green it and make it in the way our fellow citizens remember it from some decades back, which was a forest in the heart of the city. The Ormana Park is only 1 or 2 kilometers away from Yambo, and it's a natural reserve. It had been widely used by both the citizens of Yambo and its guests for leisure and recreation. The rowing channel in Yambo is another interesting site. There are only 3 such channels in Bulgaria, in Pancharevo, in Sofia, and in another city, and also in Yambo. We are ambitious to clean it and redesign it for future development. This will be one of the key green areas in Yambo because it has a huge area. It could be used both for sports fishing and for water sports, and relevant attractions both for the citizens and for the guests arriving to Yambo. The 4th area is the Tonja River and its bed. We will try to use some of the park, some of the that segment or section of the river which runs through the park, and it was covered with concrete, paved in concrete several years ago, and we want to use it for further attractions, also for children. Another part of a river leg runs through the city, but it is dry for now. Since the beginning of our term of office, we began to clean it, and we are ambitious to develop it. There are similar projects which have been implemented in Valencia, for instance, but we want to green the riverbed and plant it with grass and have grass sweeps around it, so if there are no natural disasters to inflict any damages, our fellow citizens will be able to enjoy it in spring. Why do I say all of that? At the very beginning of my term of office, me and my team, we decided to develop the green spaces of our city because these improve the quality of the living environment. And we have all the preconditions to be transformed in the city with the biggest number of parks in Bulgaria, because the areas, the land areas, are a fact. They already exist, and all we have to do is develop them, and we have to rely on the support and the collaboration of our fellow citizens to cultivate and develop these areas for the benefit of the entire city. I would like to thank you again for being able to participate in this discussion on the Green Cities for Sustainable Europe. I'll do my best, and also my team will do its best to transform Yambo into a better and greener city with a lot of park areas.
Yambo has shown and proven that it is a city with a well-developed green vision. The mayor mentioned something interesting about riverbeds. Yeah, a lot could be said on this topic. Many Bulgarian cities have such riverbeds running through them, and these are not used in any interesting or useful way, and they are a money drain. So these could be turned into recreation areas, into promenades, well, they cannot be planted up with trees because there are certain requirements when it comes to drainage. But we saw the situation along the Tunja River, the Ada River. There is a lot of potential, and there are possibilities. So and we have huge opportunities because all these rivers, they are there. So we only need to find a way to use them better. And yes, you just have to imagine those boring riverbeds turned into beautiful gardens. Yes, there are loads of initiatives, and we just need to be active and get involved. We have a river nearby, a small river, and there is trout in this river, so you could see the fish swimming there. Before we move to perhaps the most interesting part of our program, let's see what's been happening in our chat room. Is there anything interesting? Yes, there are a lot of interesting comments. Some environmentalists have been asking how they could get involved in some of those green projects in Floriade, for example. Others asking about what could be done about areas between blocks of flats, giving some ideas. And there are some congratulations also for the mayor of Yambol and what he has done for his fellow citizens and the urban environment. Let me just say that any questions that we cannot answer here in the studio would be answered by our colleagues online. Colleagues, we miss you very much, but there is little we can do about it. As part of this multinational project, Green Cities for Sustainable Europe, we have also a competition for a green project for Europe. Bulgaria is also represented there. Let's learn a bit more about this project and how it was selected. Hello, I'm a landscape architect.
For me, it's an honor to represent Bulgaria in the European Green Cities competition and to be a part of this conference, even if I'm participating online. When we started designing the Real Renaissance Center, the most important thing we wanted to do was to integrate the mountain in the schoolyard. The mountain was brought down to the schoolyard by building geoplastics which are similar to the slopes of the mountain. The space is typified with a variety and dynamic solutions in the height of the hills and the variety of trees and shrubs used. So we have a variety of scenery and various landscapes. The first things to see is the panorama of the central area, because it is a connection between the surrounding areas and the building of the school. This is the area which is charged with the biggest number of functionalities, and you feel as if you are between the slopes of the Vitusian mountain, because there are all types of hills and also open air classrooms. The space also encompasses several types of gardens, a wild garden, a dry garden and a rain garden. The wild garden is a space which does not yet manifest any specific intentions or functions, and we decided to have it for learning purposes and to teach children to love nature. All naturally existing plant species were preserved there, and various bee and insect hotels were designed to ensure that the garden will develop on its own without any need for maintenance and shaping activities. Similarly, we drafted a maintenance and mowing schedule which allows for the wild species populating it to bloom and self-seed. The rain garden is the connecting element between the paved spaces and the softscape, where all rainwater drains to. Underneath there is a large water tank, the capacity of which is reused to irrigate the remaining area. The dry garden is typical for its special plantings resistant to drought. It imitates the Vitusha stone rounds with its designs of large rock boulders that were discovered during the excavation works for the building's foundations and dispersed around in a mixture of perennials and ornamental grasses with low maintenance needs. Plant variety is a key factor in this project. We have used local and cultivated varieties fit to survive the harder urban conditions and environment. The local tree species are sycamore, European ash, birch and lime tree. The adapted cultivars are liquid amber, catalpa and a few more. We also included fruit trees to provide food and shelter for birds, bees and butterflies, and thus sustain biodiversity. The total area of the Anglo-American school is over 80 acres, and the areas we have designed is about 12 acres. What is specific about this project is that in order to create all the garden spaces in the school campus, we removed an existing parking area and designed an entirely green space for use by the children. We prioritized people over vehicles. 3 years ago, while we were making the design, we had no idea how creative and far-sighted our approach had been. It is a real bonus to have a schoolyard with spaces allocated to open-air classrooms. They are now frequently used by the school, and whenever possible, children have their classes outside in view of the COVID situation. When we commenced work on the project, all of us in the team set to creating a conceptual design. We browsed numerous options until we ultimately visited the place to find out what it really feels like. And what we were dominated by was the Vitusha mountain. Meanwhile, the new building about to be erected was expected to hide this view. This is why we decided that the key element to be important in the conceptual design would be the Vitusha slope. In 2019, the Real Renaissance Art Center won the Building of the Year awards, and we're also about to be LEED Gold certified at any moment, which clearly demonstrates how much the children, the environment, and all of us benefit from this project. The open area spaces of the Real Renaissance Center set a good example and a model of organizing and using the schoolyard. So wish us good luck on the European Green Cities competition.
Dobromira Wolcheva and Ivan Mustakov are a real inspiration because they combine aesthetics, functionality and design in their project. So this is a really very good nomination to participate in the competition. Tanya, would you introduce our special guest? Well, we had other excellent projects, so we had to be very careful in selecting the best one among those. Our jury was headed by my colleague Veliana, who is a chairperson of the Association of Landscape Designers in Bulgaria. So she would perhaps tell us how we proceeded in selecting the participant. Thank you very much for giving me the floor. Dear participants in the Green Cities for Sustainable Europe conference, for Bulgaria it was a privilege to participate in this competition. Green cities are the cities of the future. Their role is to reduce to some extent the negative effect of the human intervention in nature, and to provide in future a nice and comfortable environment for urban citizens. We are really proud to participate in this competition with this project, but it was very difficult for the judges to choose a project. We chose it out of 4 projects which to a different degree represented the green city vision. We had projects concerning areas between blocks of flats. So the 4 projects we chose, the first one was in a park in the city of Stara Zagora. All the projects involve the actual creation of gardens and parks, and these have already been implemented. We had other projects, but these were just projects. They were not implemented. The second project was regeneration and creation of park areas in a small town like Dubnica, in the residential area of Bystrica. We also have had another project, a luxury residential area in Sofia, where we see a lot of ornamental trees skillfully used. So this project showed real craftsmanship in the use of plants by members of our association. So the judges, we had members of the Landscape Designers Union. We had Tanya, the head of the Ornamental Plants Association, and also other professional bodies. Vasilina Kalaikova, who is the head of the Bulgarian chapter of the Landscape Designers Association. So we're very happy to be able to showcase the achievements of our colleagues. and we're very grateful to our colleagues. Each of the projects had its strengths, and a project that was just presented the open areas of in the grounds of the Anglo-American School in Sofia was selected in a long and process where we looked carefully at all the projects. We looked at the criteria. We saw that this project met all the requirements, and we chose it as the most appropriate one to represent us at international exhibitions. As head of the jury, I was the one to decide which project should represent us at the different exhibitions. The Stara Zagora City Park, the other project that was shortlisted, is also a very interesting one. Here we have a park designed to be used by different age groups and providing different opportunities for leisure and relaxation. We have innovative materials used. So as we go through the presentation, you'll be able to make a judgment for yourselves as to what has been achieved in those projects and how they have been implemented. Now, of course, there are ways perhaps of improving each one of those projects, but we're looking at what was possible at the time of their creation. I told you that the next project that we will be looking at is in a small town, and a lot has been achieved in terms of functional separation. We have playgrounds for children, we have green areas. This is still under construction. And let me answer one of the questions that were asked by participants. One, why we don't have such projects in Sofia. Well, we do have, but it's a much slower process in a big city. So we are working to ensure improved access to people with disabilities and creating an environment that meets all the requirements of accessibility. Now, I told you about this project. It is in Sofia, a residential district. And the idea was to build a kind of bridge, a link between the city and the mountain. And this project shows real mastery in the use of different types of plants, larger trees and shrubbery. And again, we have something that is a really top quality, world level greening solution. Then in the next project, you could see yet another solution when it comes to accessibility, playgrounds, the use of different surfaces. So in all these projects, we had excellent ideas and solutions, and it was a really hard choice.
I will also briefly speak about the other project by Lulcheva and Mustakov. We had to transform the natural environment inspired by the dominant presence of the Vitosha mountain. Everything was already mentioned in their presentation. It was very important here how they modeled the landscape, which allows for training and classes in the open air. That's very important in the situation of this pandemic. Also, great use of the planting materials and the natural features of the terrain. Very importantly, they have preserved the nature and they've used innovative approaches for irrigation and using rainwater. Therefore, I believe we have to be proud with our projects and proud of our designers with what they've done and what they've presented and also completed to a great degree. But however, the landscape is still evolving, so they're still adding features here and there. A landscape requires a number of years to be fully developed and fully established. So I'd like to thank the association also for the wonderful ornamental plants. Thank you, Valiana. You were very inspiring. I believe that those projects and competitions are intended to inspire designers and architects to maintain the criteria for sustainable greening. In our colleagues association for landscape designers, we work with builders and with engineers. So our goal is to increase the so-called vegetative areas, which provide for the environmentally safe environmentally compliant vision of cities, also roof greening that utilize the last open areas left. And these are not merely on the rooftops of buildings, but also on garages and other areas which would otherwise be paved. So for green cities, it's very important to use all types of approaches for energy efficiency and greening in order to allow for a comprehensive effect. So this exhausts all the topics we've planned for today's debate. We have taken more time than we've planned initially. Hopefully you didn't feel you were late. Tanya, would you like to say a couple of conclusive words prior to extending our thanks and acknowledgements? Dear colleagues, friends and fellow thinkers, we miss you. Hopefully next year we will not be online and we will continue with inspiration forward, because there's a lot ahead of us and there's a lot to do. We would like to thank Doriana, who was charged to moderate this conference. I would like to thank the Embassy of the Netherlands for supporting us and backing us up in all of our initiatives. And we will move forward together with the Union of Landscape Designers. We are all colleagues and fellow thinkers and who've gathered here. I wish everyone health, love and bravery. I'd like to thank everyone involved in the organization of this conference. An online conference is not an easier event to make as compared to a live event. All of the team members are with masks here. Please smile irrespective of the masks.